The Stellar Horizons crew watched in awe as their ship's systems interfaced with the archivist vessels, creating a network of shared discovery that spanned dimensions. This wasn't just first contact or a technological revolution. It was the birth of something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. Humanity had done more than prove itself worthy of advanced technology. They had shown that true advancement comes not from following established paths or breaking free of them, but from transforming them into something new. The archivists had tried to teach humanity to walk their path, only to discover that humans could teach them to dance among the stars. As the combined fleet prepared to explore the universe together, Sarah looked at her quantum readings and smiled. The readings didn't just show power levels or technological capabilities anymore. They showed potential. Infinite, boundless potential, born from the union of human creativity and archivist knowledge. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as humanity took its first steps into a future that neither civilization could have imagined alone. A future where limitations were just questions waiting to be answered, and every boundary was an invitation to explore what lay beyond. But it was too late. The quantum field washing over the stellar horizon was like nothing they had ever encountered. One by one, systems began to shut down, but not in the way they expected. Instead of simply going dark, each system seemed to transform, the very nature of their technology shifting at a fundamental level. "What we give you is not a punishment, but a gift," the voice explained as the ship's systems continued to change. "Your technology will be altered to follow safer paths, more predictable paths. You will still advance, but at a pace we deem appropriate." Sarah's fingers flew across her console, trying to understand what was happening. "Captain, our quantum core, it's not shutting down. It's evolving. The alien field isn't suppressing our technology. It's trying to rewrite it." And that's when Sarah saw it, a pattern in the chaos, a flaw in the archivist's perfect plan. They understood humanity's technology, yes, but they didn't understand humanity itself. The quantum core's experimental neural network wasn't just being rewritten. It was learning, adapting, incorporating the very principles the archivists were using to try to control it. "Captain," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide as she realized the implications. "They've made a mistake. They're not limiting us. They're giving us direct access to their computational principles. Our quantum core is absorbing their knowledge." The voice of the archivists continued its serene pronouncement, unaware that its attempt to restrict humanity's development was about to have exactly the opposite effect. "Accept this adjustment with grace, children of Earth. In time, you will understand it is for the best." As the ship's conventional systems went dark, Sarah caught Captain Morrison's eye and gave a slight nod. The captain understood immediately. Sometimes, the best response to an attempted checkmate was to let your opponent think they'd won. We understand," Morrison replied, allowing defeat to color her voice. "We submit to your wisdom." The crystalline structure's pulsing began to slow, its light dimming as it completed its work. The archivist's voice spoke one final time. "Rest now. When your systems reactivate, you will find yourselves on a better path, a safer path." As emergency lighting bathed the bridge in a soft red glow, Sarah's quantum readings told a very different story. The archivists had just gifted humanity with the keys to technological advancement beyond anything they could have imagined, and they didn't even know it. Captain Morrison gathered her senior staff close, speaking in a whisper that wouldn't carry to any of the archivists' monitoring systems. How long until they realized their mistake? Sarah smiled, her fingers already dancing across her tablet, recording and analyzing the transformation of their quantum core. "Long enough. They think they've limited us, so they'll be watching for signs of resistance or attempts to restore our original systems. They won't be looking for what we're actually going to do." "And what exactly are we going to do, Doctor?" Morrison asked, though the gleam in her eye suggested she already knew the answer. "We're going to take everything they just taught us about higher dimensional computing, and we're going to do what humans do best." Sarah's smile widened. We're going to innovate in ways they never imagined possible. The stellar horizon floated powerless in space, appearing for all the world like a chastised child who had been put in timeout. But inside, in the ship's quantum core, humanity's next great leap forward was already beginning. The archivists had tried to clip their wings. Instead, they'd taught them how to soar. 3 days after their encounter with the archivists, the Stellar Horizons Quantum Lab had been transformed into an impromptu command center. Holographic displays flickered with streams of alien code, while Dr. Sarah Chen and her team worked tirelessly to understand the gift they'd been given. The ship's conventional systems remained dormant, exactly as the archivists intended, but the quantum core was alive with possibility. It's like they handed us a library containing the entire history of technological evolution, Sarah explained to Captain Morrison, gesturing to the complex patterns swirling across her displays. But instead of giving us access to just the children's section, they accidentally gave us the keys to the whole archive. Morrison studied the flowing data, her expression thoughtful. Can you make sense of it? That's the fascinating part, Sarah replied, pulling up a new visualization. Their attempt to adjust our technology created a bridge between our quantum computing architecture and their higher dimensional processing systems. Our quantum core isn't just storing their data, it's learning to think like they do. Lieutenant Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing from the corner, stepped forward. Is it dangerous, having alien tech rewiring our systems? Sarah shook her head. That's what makes this so perfect. They didn't implant their technology into our ship. They tried to force our technology to develop along what they considered safe paths. But human innovation doesn't work that way. We're not following their paths. We're using their knowledge to forge our own. The Quantum Lab's main display lit up with a new simulation. Within it, complex geometric structures assembled and disassembled themselves, each configuration more sophisticated than the last. Watch this, Sarah said, her eyes bright with excitement. Our quantum core is learning to manipulate higher dimensional space. The archivists use this technology to store and process information, but we're already finding new applications. Morrison leaned closer to the display. Such as energy generation, for starters, Sarah explained. The archivists' technology taps into what they call void energy. Basically, they can extract power from the quantum foam of space itself. They use it for computation, but we figured out how to adapt it for practical power generation. Once we perfect the process, we'll never need conventional fuel again. Chief Engineer Maya Patel spoke up from her workstation. And that's just the beginning. The quantum core's neural network is evolving at an exponential rate. It's like we've been trying to understand the universe using only 2 dimensions, and they just showed us how to think in 3. Every hour brings new breakthroughs. The archivists are still watching, though, Rodriguez reminded them. Won't they notice if we start powering up our systems? Sarah's smile turned sly. That's the beauty of it. They're monitoring us for signs of conventional human technology, the kind of development they're familiar with. But we're not reactivating our old systems. We're building entirely new ones that operate on principles they never imagined we could grasp. She brought up another display, this one showing the ship's power distribution network. See these patterns? To their sensors, it looks like random quantum fluctuations, the kind of background noise you'd expect from a partially disabled vessel. But we're actually channeling void energy through the ship's superstructure, creating a new kind of power grid that exists partially in higher dimensions. In English, Dr. Morrison requested, though her eyes sparkled with understanding. We're hiding in plain sight, Captain. The archivists think they've confined us to the equivalent of a primitive steam engine, but we're building a quantum fusion reactor right under their noses. And because we're approaching their technology from a completely different perspective, a human perspective, we're discovering applications they never considered. The lab's displays suddenly flickered, and new data streams appeared. Maya rushed to her console, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. Sarah, look at this. The neural network just made another leap. I think I think it's figured out how to manipulate gravitational fields using void energy. Sarah quickly pulled up the relevant data, her expression transforming from excitement to awe. This is incredible. The archivists use higher dimensions for data storage, but our quantum core has realized you can use the same principles to affect physical space. We could potentially create our own gravity wells, manipulate inertia. Could we use it as a weapon? Rodriguez asked quietly. Morrison held up a hand. One step at a time, Lieutenant. Right now, our priority is understanding what we've been given. The archivists wanted to ensure we'd develop along predictable lines, but they failed to account for humanity's greatest strength, our ability to look at something familiar and see entirely new possibilities. Exactly, Sarah agreed. They tried to force us to follow their path of technological development, but instead, they've given us the tools to forge our own. Every restriction they placed on our systems has become a doorway to new discoveries. It's like they tried to teach us to paint by giving us a coloring book, but instead, we're learning to create entirely new colors. Maya's console chimed again. Another breakthrough. The quantum core has started modeling higher dimensional space in ways that I don't even have words for. It's not just learning the archivist's technology, it's evolving beyond it. Morrison looked around at her crew. The brightest minds Earth had to offer, now working with technology beyond anything humanity had dreamed possible. How long until we can implement some of these discoveries in a practical way? We've already started, Sarah revealed, gesturing to a seemingly empty corner of the lab. That section of the room is being powered by void energy right now. To conventional sensors, it looks completely dead, but we're generating enough power there to run a small city. The captain nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. Keep working, keep learning, but most importantly, keep appearing helpless. The archivists wanted to teach us a lesson about humility. Let's show them just how well we can learn. As if in response to her words, the quantum core pulsed with new patterns of light, its evolving consciousness reaching out to grasp concepts that would have been incomprehensible just days ago. The archivists had tried to limit humanity's potential, but instead they had become unwitting teachers in the greatest technological revolution in human history, and they still had no idea what they had started. 2 weeks into their supposed containment, the stellar horizon had become something entirely new. While its exterior remained unchanged, the ship's interior hummed with invisible power that existed partially beyond conventional spacetime. The crew had maintained radio silence, playing the role of a chastised civilization perfectly, until their sensors detected 3 massive vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Archivist vessels, Sarah confirmed, studying the quantum readings in the transformed bridge. Bigger than the structure we encountered. They're probably here to check on our progress. Captain Morrison stood at the center of the bridge, watching the approaching ships through windows that now doubled as quantum state displays, showing information invisible to normal human eyes. Status of our systems. The void energy grid is operating at 300% of theoretical capacity, Maya reported from her engineering station. Quantum shielding is active but masked. As far as their sensors can tell, we're still running on emergency power only. The past 2 weeks had transformed the stellar horizon in ways that would have seemed impossible before their encounter with the archivists. The quantum core had evolved into something that was neither purely human nor purely archivist technology. It was something entirely new, born from the fusion of human ingenuity and alien knowledge. Incoming transmission, Rodriguez announced from his security station, which now monitored threats across 11 dimensions of spacetime. The main view screen activated, revealing a being that seemed to shift and flow like liquid crystal. When it spoke, its voice resonated with the same multi-layered quality they'd heard from the archive structure. Children of Earth, we have come to evaluate your adjustment to the new limitations we have gifted you. Morrison stepped forward, carefully maintaining an expression of humbled acceptance. We are grateful for your guidance. Our ship remains as you left it, operating on minimal power. The crystalline being's form rippled in what might have been satisfaction. Your acceptance is noted. We will now commence a detailed scan of your vessel to ensure the changes remain stable. Sarah's hands moved subtly across her console, adjusting the quantum masking fields they'd developed. To conventional scans, the stellar horizon would appear exactly as the archivists had left it. A technologically hamstrung vessel running on basic emergency systems. But beneath that facade, the ship had evolved into something unprecedented in the history of either civilization. Multiple scanning beams detected, Rodriguez reported quietly. They're using technology we haven't seen before. Sarah's eyes widened as she studied the new data. They're not just scanning us. They're trying to reinforce the limitations they placed on our systems. They want to make sure we haven't found any workarounds. Morrison kept her voice steady as she continued to address the archivist. We understand now why you felt these measures were necessary. Humanity was advancing too quickly, without proper consideration for the consequences. The crystalline being's form pulsed with patterns of light. Your understanding is encouraging. Perhaps in a few centuries, once your species has developed sufficient wisdom, we may consider restoring some of your capabilities. As they spoke, Sarah was making a remarkable discovery. The new scanning beams weren't just searching for violations of their imposed limitations. They were providing a direct look at even more advanced archivist technology. Their quantum core was absorbing and analyzing this new information in real time, learning and evolving even faster than before. Captain, Sarah whispered, they're accidentally teaching us even more. They're scanning technology. It's giving us insights into their most advanced systems. Maya's console lit up with alerts. The quantum core is incorporating the new data. Our void energy efficiency just jumped by 600%. We're developing capabilities we hadn't even theorized yet. Morrison maintained her diplomatic facade. We look forward to learning from your wisdom, she told the archivist, even as her ship was learning far more than their would-be mentors ever intended. The scanning continued for hours. With each passing moment, the stellar horizon's systems grew more sophisticated, incorporating the very technology being used to check for signs of advancement. It was like trying to use a microscope to ensure a specimen wasn't growing, only to have the specimen learn how to build its own microscopes by studying the one examining it. Scan completed, the archivist finally announced. Your compliance is satisfactory. We will return in one standard solar cycle to evaluate your progress. As the massive ships prepared to depart, Sarah made one final discovery that almost caused her to gasp aloud. Captain, she whispered urgently, their scanning beams revealed how their FTL drives work. The quantum core has already adapted the principles to our void energy system. We could outrun them now. Morrison gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. Not yet. They needed more time, more understanding. The archivists had unwittingly given them the keys to the kingdom, but humanity would do more than simply copy their technology. They would transcend it. After the archivist vessels vanished into FTL, the bridge crew finally relaxed. Status report, Morrison ordered. The quantum core's capabilities have increased by an order of magnitude, Sarah reported. Their scans were like getting a graduate-level course in their technology. We now understand principles that would have taken us centuries to discover on our own. And they have no idea, Rodriguez added with a hint of satisfaction. Morrison allowed herself a small smile. The archivists thought they were containing a potential threat. Instead, they've created exactly what they feared, but not in the way they imagined. We're not a threat because we're aggressive or unpredictable. We're a threat because we can take their knowledge and see possibilities they never dreamed of. The stellar horizon hung seemingly powerless in space, a supposedly humbled vessel of a supposedly contained civilization. But within its quantum-enhanced hull, humanity's potential was growing beyond anything the archivists could have predicted. They had tried to clip humanity's wings, only to give them the knowledge to transcend traditional flight altogether. The real question now wasn't whether they would break free of their constraints, but what they would do with their newfound power when they did. 1 month after their initial encounter with the archivists, the stellar horizon was ready. The ship had evolved into something that defied conventional classification, a hybrid of human innovation and archivist technology that operated on principles its creators had never imagined. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the now familiar crystalline structure approaching through space. "They're right on schedule," Sarah noted, monitoring the quantum readings from her station. "Coming to check on their children again." The past month had changed more than just their ship. The crew had grown too, adapting to work with technology that existed partially beyond normal space-time. They'd learned to think in new dimensions, to see possibilities that would have been incomprehensible just weeks ago. "All stations report ready," Morrison commanded, her voice steady. "Void energy grid at maximum efficiency," Maya reported. "The quantum core has achieved full integration with all ship's systems. We're running at capabilities that are, well, I don't think there's a word for it yet." The archivist structure grew larger in their view, its crystalline surface pulsing with familiar patterns of light. This time, 3 support vessels accompanied it, massive ships designed to reinforce the limitations placed on human technology. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez announced from his security station. "Standard containment protocols." Morrison nodded. "Let them look." It's time they saw what humanity really is. The main view screen activated, revealing the familiar shifting crystalline form of their would-be mentor. "Children of Earth, we have monitored your progress. Your acceptance of limitation is commendable." "About that," Morrison replied, allowing a small smile to cross her face. "We need to discuss your assumptions about humanity." The crystalline being's form rippled with what might have been confusion. "Our guidance is absolute. Your technology has been successfully contained." "No," Morrison said simply. "It hasn't." "Sarah, would you care to demonstrate?" Sarah's fingers danced across her console, and the stellar horizon transformed. The quantum masking field dropped away, revealing the ship's true nature. Void energy coursed through its structure, creating patterns of light that made the archivist's crystalline technology look primitive by comparison. "Impossible," the archivist declared, its form shifting chaotically. "Your systems were locked, contained, limited. You forgot something fundamental about humanity," Morrison explained as her ship continued to transform. "We don't follow paths, we forge them. You gave us limitations, and we turned them into stepping stones. You tried to teach us to crawl, but instead showed us how to fly." The archivist vessels responded immediately, charging their weapons and surrounding the stellar horizon. "This is unacceptable. You will be reset, contained, controlled." "I don't think so," Morrison replied calmly. Sarah activated their newly developed quantum defense grid. The space around the stellar horizon seemed to fold in on itself, creating a barrier that existed in dimensions the archivists had never thought to weaponize. Their energy weapons dissipated harmlessly, absorbed by fields that operated beyond conventional physics. "You see," Sarah explained to their stunned audience, "you showed us how to store data in higher dimensions. But we asked different questions. If information can exist in higher dimensions, why not energy? Matter? Consciousness itself?" The stellar horizon began to move, but not in any way the archivists could track. It seemed to phase in and out of reality, appearing at different points in space simultaneously. The quantum core had learned to navigate dimensions that the archivists used only for computation. "Stop this," the crystalline being demanded. "You are children playing with forces you cannot understand." "No," Morrison corrected. "We're humans doing what humans have always done, taking knowledge and transforming it into something new. You thought you were limiting us, but you were actually giving us exactly what we needed to evolve." To demonstrate her point, Sarah activated their newly developed quantum communication system. Instead of using conventional signals, it transmitted information through the quantum foam of space itself, creating a network that spanned dimensions. In an instant, Every human ship and colony within 100 light years received a complete database of their discoveries. "What? You have weaponized wisdom," the crystalline being finally said, its tone carrying something close to wonder. "In all our eons of existence, no species has ever—" "That's where you're wrong," Sarah interrupted, stepping forward. "We haven't weaponized anything. We've evolved. You gave us boundaries, and instead of fighting them or accepting them, we understood them. Every limitation you imposed became a question we needed to answer." The quantum core pulsed with new insights as it continued to process the universe in ways its original designers had never imagined. Maya's engineering station lit up with fresh discoveries, even as they waited for the archivist's response. "Captain," Maya called out softly, "the quantum core has just mapped out 37 new applications for void energy. It's like the more we learn, the more we realize how much there is to discover." Morrison nodded, then addressed the archivist again. "This is what you fail to understand about humanity. We're not dangerous because we're aggressive or unpredictable. We're transformative because we never stop asking questions, never stop seeking new possibilities." The crystalline being's form shifted through complex patterns as it communicated with its fellow archivists. The massive ships surrounding the stellar horizon adjusted their positions, but not in attack formation. They were reconfiguring, adapting, learning, just as humanity had done. "In all our time as guardians," the archivist said finally, "we have contained species we deemed too aggressive, uplifted those we found worthy, and preserved the knowledge of countless civilizations. But never have we encountered a species that could take our most basic tools and forge them into something we don't understand." "Then perhaps," Morrison suggested, "it's time for a new approach. You've spent billions of years collecting and controlling knowledge. We're offering something different, the chance to create new knowledge together." Sarah's console suddenly lit up with incoming data. The archivists were sharing something. Not their complete database, but selected segments of their history. As she analyzed it, her eyes widened. "Captain," she breathed, "they're showing us their failures. Civilizations they tried to guide that destroyed themselves, species that rejected their help and vanished into darkness. They're admitting they don't have all the answers." The crystalline being's form stabilized into a new configuration, one that pulsed with harmonious patterns. Perhaps we have grown too rigid in our guardianship. Your species takes chaos and finds patterns we never imagined, takes limitations and discovers freedoms we never considered. "That's what humans do," Morrison replied. "We don't just push boundaries, we reimagine them. Every wall can become a door if you look at it the right way." The void energy grid of the stellar horizon interfaced with the archivist vessel's systems, not in conflict but in collaboration. Information flowed both ways as two fundamentally different approaches to understanding the universe began to merge and evolve. "Your method of advancement," the archivist observed, "it is neither ordered nor chaotic. It is adaptive, creative. You don't follow paths of development. You spiral outward, finding connections we have missed despite our countless years of observation." Maya's engineering station erupted with new alerts. The quantum core it's harmonizing with their technology. Not copying it, not fighting it, but creating something new, something neither of us had before. "That's the choice we're offering you," Morrison said. "Not submission to your guidance, not revolution against your authority, but evolution. Together, we can explore possibilities neither of our civilizations could discover alone." The space around them began to transform as the quantum core's innovations spread to the archivist vessels. Their crystalline structures flickered with new patterns, incorporating human insights even as the stellar horizon adapted more archivist principles. The boundaries between their technologies began to blur, creating something entirely new. "We accept," the archivist declared, its voice carrying tones of both excitement and apprehension. "Not as guardians, not as teachers, but as fellow explorers. You have shown us that true wisdom lies not in preserving knowledge, but in transforming it. The quantum core surged with fresh insights as the collaboration began in earnest. Human creativity merged with archivist knowledge, creating technological synergies that neither species had dreamed possible. The very fabric of space around them shimmered with new possibilities. So, Morrison smiled. Shall we begin? The stellar horizon's quantum engines hummed quietly as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the anomalous readings on her holographic display. After 6 months of deep space exploration, their research vessel had finally found something extraordinary. A massive structure floating in the void, completely invisible to conventional sensors. Captain Morrison, she called out, her voice steady despite her excitement. I think you need to see this. Captain Alina Morrison moved from her command chair to Sarah's station, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the holographic readouts. The Stellar Horizon was humanity's most advanced research vessel, equipped with experimental quantum scanning technology that had cost more than some small country's GDP. But what they were seeing now made those investments seem trivial. It's like nothing we've ever encountered, Sarah explained, manipulating the display to show the quantum resonance patterns. The structure appears to exist partially in higher dimensions. Traditional sensors can't detect it because it's not fully anchored in our spacetime. The bridge crew gathered around, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. Lieutenant James Rodriguez, their security chief, frowned at the readings. Could it be natural? No chance, Sarah replied, shaking her head. These patterns are too precise, too ordered. This is artificial, and far beyond our current technological capabilities. Captain Morrison straightened her uniform, a habit she'd developed over 20 years of service. How long until we can get a visual? If we adjust our course by 3 degrees and maintain current speed, we should be within visual range in approximately 40 minutes, Navigation Officer Patel reported from his station. The next 40 minutes felt like an eternity. The bridge crew maintained their professional demeanor, but there was an electric tension in the air. They were about to make first contact with something that could revolutionize human understanding of the universe. When the structure finally came into view, the collective gasp was audible. Through the main viewport, they could see what appeared to be a vast lattice of crystalline formations, each segment shifting and moving in perfect synchronization. The structure seemed to pulse with internal light, creating patterns that hurt the eyes if you stared at them too long. My God, Morrison whispered. How big is it? Based on quantum resonance readings, approximately 300 kilometers in diameter, Sarah answered, her voice filled with wonder. But that's just what exists in our dimensional space. There are components that extend elsewhere. Before anyone could respond, every display on the bridge suddenly activated simultaneously. A voice emerged from the ship's speakers, not mechanical or artificial, but eerily organic, speaking perfect Earth standard, with an accent that seemed to shift between all known human dialects. Curiosity, determination, resourcefulness. Your species displays remarkable qualities, children of Earth. Captain Morrison stepped forward, years of training kicking in despite the unprecedented situation. This is Captain Alina Morrison of the Earth research vessel Stellar Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and understanding. Yes, the voice replied, a note of something like amusement in its tone. You always do. Every species begins this way, with curiosity, with dreams of understanding. But understanding can be dangerous when it outpaces wisdom. The crystalline structure pulsed with new patterns of light, and Sarah's instruments began registering massive energy fluctuations. Captain, she called out, something's happening. The quantum field signatures are changing. We are the archivists, the voice continued. We have watched countless civilizations rise and fall across billions of years. Some destroy themselves. Others destroy others. A few, a precious few, achieve true understanding. But you humans, you are different. Your development is too rapid, too chaotic. Your potential for both creation and destruction exceeds all known parameters. Morrison felt a chill run down her spine. We mean no harm. We're scientists, explorers. Yes, and tomorrow you will be pioneers, then settlers, then perhaps conquerors. It is not what you are now that concerns us, but what you might become. Your quantum scanning technology alone represents an unprecedented leap in development for a species of your age. Service console began blaring warnings. Captain, they're generating some kind of quantum field. It's interfacing with our systems. We do not wish to harm you, the voice said, now emanating from every speaker on the ship. But we cannot allow your species to continue on its current trajectory. You must be adjusted. Morrison slammed her hand on the ship-wide comm. All hands, prepare for possible system failure. Engineering, emergency protocols.